On the news, 40 persons killed, houses burnt in Plateau community attack. CBN raises interest rate again to 26.25%. And reps to set up technical committee to address faulty presidential aircraft. Thank you for joining us on News Now. I'm Simisola Adigun. Suspected bandits have reportedly killed over 40 persons after they attacked Zurak village in Bashar district of Wase local government area of Plateau State. Residents of the community who disclosed the incident occurred around 7 p.m. on Monday say the bandits rode on 3 motorcycles with sophisticated weapons and began shooting sporadically. Several houses were also set ablaze by the bandits during the attack, which is the latest violence in an area that has long been a flashpoint for disputes over resources and outbreaks of intercommunal clashes. In January, intercommunal clashes erupted in Plateau's Mangu town that left churches and mosques burned, more than 50 people dead and thousands displaced. For the third consecutive time, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised the monetary policy rate, which benchmarks interest rates from 24.75% to 26.25%. Governor of the CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, disclosed the adjustment at the end of the 2-day meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, saying that the decision was taken to further curb rising inflation. The Apex Bank also increased the asymmetric corridor around the MPR to plus 100 minus 300 basis points.
The MPC, however, noted that the inflationary pressure continues to be driven largely by food inflation. The committee thus reiterated several challenges confronting the effective moderation of food inflation, to include rising costs of transportation of farm produce, infrastructure-related constraints along the line of distribution network, security challenges in some food-producing areas, and exchange rate pass-through to domestic prices for imported food items.
The CBN has now raised interest rates 11 consecutive times since May 2022 in a bid to rein in inflation. However, between May 2022 and April 2024, inflation soared from 17.71% to 33.69%. The recent rise on May 15 came amid the surge in food prices. Well, joining me on the news to speak on the new increase is co-founder, Veriv Africa, and policy analyst Basil Abia. Thank you for your time, Basil. Now, what do you make of this new increase in the monetary policy rate by the CBN? Do you agree with the governor of the Apex Bank that the other increases have had positive impact on taming inflation in the country?
Thank you so much, CBN, and thank you for having me on TV 360. So first and foremost, we're practicing, or the Central Bank of Nigeria practicing a very conventional macroeconomic stance, especially with the monetary policy rate hikes that we've been seeing. Very hawkish in economic nature. Do I agree with the central bank governor that the hikes are somewhat tame inflation? I completely disagree. I know that, of course, the rate in increase of inflation has slowed down for obvious reasons. And the number one obvious reason, of course, is that 2 months ago, the Naira started to appreciate against the dollar and other foreign currencies. But that has now been reversed by more than 100%. So we saw a situation where the Naira against the dollar appreciated to a point where from 1,650 Naira per dollar, it got to about 1,100 Naira per dollar. Right now, it is hovering between 1,300 to 1,400 Naira per $1, obviously, in the foreign exchange market. So that exchange rate pass-through, like he mentioned during his announcement of the MPR hikes, was that the the exchange rate pass-through had affected the inflation rate to a point where it started to slow down in its rise. But it hasn't tamed inflation. Inflation is still sky high, food inflation, in fact, increased again, as we noted during the MBS report that was released last week. Food inflation is now at 40.58%, which is, again, record highs of close to 25 years. The last time we had food inflation rate that high was 25 years ago. So I disagree with him. The stats are there for him to be able to see. One of the things that we do with Very Africa is not only verifying data information, but also providing data insights as to the state of the economy. So I completely disagree with him on that stance, but I understand the convention behind the hawkish stance with regards to MPR hikes, largely because that's the only way to communicate to the international debt markets that you're doing something at the very least to provide more fruitful yields, or more, I'd say, enticing yields for the foreign portfolio investors that we expect hot money to come into the economy. Hot money has increased, obviously, no doubt. The stats also show that hot money has increased since January 2024. It has slowed down a bit in the last 2 months. And that probably is another reason why the Naira has started to depreciate, even countering its appreciation levels of 2 months ago by close to 100%.
All right, so what effect do you think this new increase will have on access to credit for manufacturers and small business owners in the country?
It's not terrible. It's not terrible. It doesn't make any sense to even access debt or credit in the domestic markets right now, because it doesn't make any sense. You're accessing let's not forget, since the MPR hike is at 26.25%, then you have to factor in the plus 5% that banks have to put on as their own costs for lending. So you're looking at 31% to as high as even 40%. A number of lenders and banks are going to use those rates. So if you're a domestic manufacturer or a business person or a trader accessing credit in the Nigerian domestic credit market right now, from between 31% to 36% doesn't make any sense. You're literally just, for the lack of a better word, you're being constrained to the point that you're not even going to make events at all. You're not going to make even meet. And so, yeah, it's a struggle. As we have noted, the real sector has continued to decline. The stats are there for us to see. Manufacturing Association of Nigeria countlessly protested these hawkish stance by the CBN because it's affecting their members. They're not able to access credit to be able to further production. So we're seeing production units in the manufacturing sector reduce. In the services sector, we're also seeing productive units reduce. And then in the larger expanse, including the transmission effect of the MPR hikes in the informal sector, we're also seeing reduction in productivity in the informal sector. So all of these multiplier effects is ensuring that the economy continues to go in decline, continues to shrink. And that means that our GDP growth rate for the quarter, when the numbers are out by the MBS, will definitely be a reduction from what we had in Q1. So the economy is worse off because of these MPR hikes. It isn't actually taming inflation. Things are worse, from a macroeconomic perspective, from a policy perspective, to the general layman experience of Nigeria. Things are harder because of these decisions. And then whatever positives that analysts have been touting due to these MPR hikes, we're not seeing it because hot money is declining to hot money in. And for those, for a lack of a better explanation, hot money basically means monies from foreign portfolio investors who are trying to invest in a number of equities in our national equities market, mostly the NGX. And so apart from that, also our bond markets, people wanting to lend money to Nigeria to be able to carry out a number of things, and then they get their yields or their premiums earned in that sense. So a lot of these things that we're seeing in terms of like what CBN and other analysts have touted as advantages of these MPR hikes, we're not seeing it because the numbers are there for us to see, and it's quite legit.
Basil Abia, co-founder, Very Africa, and policy analyst, thank you for your time and your analysis. Moving on, the House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence has resolved to constitute a technical committee to address issues concerning the frequent malfunctioning of the presidential air fleet after meeting behind closed doors at the National Assembly complex. This comes after President Bola Tinubu reportedly used a chartered aircraft from the Netherlands to Saudi Arabia after the presidential jet developed a fault. Vice President Kashim Shettima also cancelled his trip to the United States early this month due to a fault with his aircraft. Lawmakers in the lower legislative chamber debated the matter during plenary, expressing concerns over the conditions of the presidential aircraft. Briefing journalists after the executive session, Satomi Ahmed, chairman of the committee, said a technical committee will be set up to interface with the officials at the presidential air fleet for a resolution. Stakeholders in the nation's judicial sector have backed an executive bill that, amongst others, seeks for a 300% increase in the salaries and allowances of office holders, just as they have solicited for an annual increase in their annual salaries and a 4-year periodic review of their salaries and emolument in accordance with international standards. The stakeholders spoke on Monday at a public hearing for shareholders on a bill for an act to prescribe the salaries and allowances and fringe benefits of judicial office holders in Nigeria and Related Matters Bill 2024. This report has details. The public hearing, organized by the Mohammed Tahir Mongono-led Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, follows recent outcry over the non-review of judicial officers' salaries and emolument since 2007. In his submission, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi expressed displeasure over what he termed neglect in the remuneration of judicial officers for close to 17 years.
I strongly recommend this bill for your kind consideration and to urge the Senate to support and ensure the passage of this bill in the national interest of promoting the rule of law. That our focus on judicial reform is not only about judicial remuneration. In consultation with the judiciary and other key stakeholders, we are also interested in ensuring a holistic review of our judicial system to respond to the justice needs of Nigeria.
Other speakers backed the upscaling of the remuneration of judicial officers to salvage the sector.
We are almost closing down some of our courts for want of resources to manage. Some offices, I understand, alternate the coming to the office of their staff. We in the judiciary cannot dare to do that because people will be crying, justice delayed, justice denied. And so we are indeed suffering.
The Senate, having taken the important step of considering the removal of the judiciary from the Certain Political, Public and Judicial Officers Holders Act, should go a step further by creating a Judicial Office Holders Entitlement Panel, which will take up the sole responsibility of determining the salaries, allowances, and other benefits of judicial officers as presently done by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission.
In his remarks, the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, expressed the readiness of President Bola Tinubu to respond positively on matters of improving welfare and standards in the judiciary.
Judiciary were extremely well remunerated compared to what the then governor met on ground. It's a continuation of that tradition that is now coming into effect, an attempt and an initiative to improve the lot of the judiciary.
On his part, the Chief Justice of the Federation and Chairman, National Judicial Council, Olukayode Ariwola, who was represented by the Chief Judge of Borno State, says the eventual passage of the Judicial Office Holders Salaries and Allowances Bill 2024 will not only improve the living standards of judicial officers, but also enhance the overall quality of the justice system, boost public confidence, and contribute to the long-term stability and prosperity of the nation. Simisola Adigun, TV 360 News. Retired police officers under the contributory pension scheme have stormed the National Assembly in Abuja to protest over several months of unpaid pensions. The retirees who came from the state chapters to participate in the protest decried the extreme challenges they have to face due to non-payment of their pensions by the National Pension Commission. TV360's Tamilore Akikolie has more.
This is not the first time police retirees have protested. In September 2021, retired officers from 27 states stormed the National Assembly in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, demanding their pension payments. This time, the aggrieved retired police officers are also asking the Bola Tinubu-led government to remove them from the contributory pension scheme, which was introduced in 2004 as part of the pension reforms to ensure that both employer and employee contribute a portion of the monthly salary which the employee gets after retirement. The scheme has, however, faced criticism from Nigerians. Speaking on behalf of his colleagues, Chairman of the retirees Christopher Effiong says many members have developed health challenges as a result of the frustration associated with the scheme.
Honorable Waife, bill to exit us from contributory pension scheme. That bill has been in the National Assembly for well over 2 years. It has passed through the first reading, second reading. We came here for public hearing. While expecting third reading, Senator Elisha Abo, then Adamawa State in the 9th Assembly, came up with another bill of the Police Pension Board. That bill has passed through. It has passed through the Senate since last year. It was just to him to be harmonized with the sister bill in the House of Rep. But since then till today, even the 10th Assembly received this our bill.
My children have graduated, but they have no work. I'm still feeding them. They are still under my roof. So what will 40,000 do to me? 40,000 is just too meager. So all what we want, or all what I want is they should exit us from this PENCOM. Because if I can serve for 35 years, how can I not manage my money? I can manage my money for 35 years. So why will somebody come from somewhere and say he wants or she wants to manage my money for me? Or I want to take care of my money myself.
In his response, the Deputy Chairman of the Senate Committee on Police Affairs, Senator Eunice Akintunde, says the aforementioned bill are no longer in existence because they were never assented to.
They are part of the society, and no nation will be happy seeing its retiree standing in the sun. You can't be playing with your life. You can't be playing with your future. As of this morning, I told the officers in charge, by 10, if I'm not here, we're supposed to be at that joint meeting. You agree with me, the issue of pension has to do with figures. It has to do that, okay, let's calculate this. If we are exiting them, what will be the cost? How do we do?
The senator also asked the protesters to create a committee that would join in the joint meeting to create a link between the National Assembly and the retirees to keep them abreast of actions being taken to resolve the issue. Tamilore Akikolie, TV360, Lagos.
We'll take a break, but still to come, Iranians pay last respects to late President Ebrahim Raisi. Stay with us. News Now will return shortly. Welcome back. Here's a recap of our top stories. Suspected bandits have reportedly killed over 40 persons after they attacked Zurak village in Bashar district of Wase local government area of Plateau State. According to residents of the community, the bandits who stormed the village around 7 p.m. on Monday rode on 3 motorcycles with sophisticated weapons and began shooting sporadically. Several houses were also set ablaze by the bandits during the attack. We also told you that for the third consecutive time, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised the monetary policy rate, which benchmarks interest rates from 24.75% to 26.25%. Governor of the CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, disclosed the adjustments at the end of the two-day meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, saying the decision was taken to further curb rising inflation. The Apex Bank has raised interest rates 11 consecutive times since May 2022 in a bid to rein in inflation. Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV, or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're TV360 Online. Well, let's get more stories from the world of business with Joy Uchejim. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you, Simi. Welcome to Business News. Now, Nigeria's top commercial bank, United Bank for Africa PLC, has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to improving customer experience and further facilitate payments across Africa. Speaking at a press conference at its corporate headquarters in Lagos as part of activities to mark the 75th anniversary of the bank, the Group Managing Director of the bank, Oliver Alawuba, have revealed that for the past 2 years, the bank dividend has yielded consistently exceeding 12%, adding that its presence across 24 countries not only underscores its robust diversification of income streams, but also highlights the unique investment propositions it offers to customers in Africa and beyond. Our correspondent, Sidney Okafo, completes the story.
This press conference was called to kickstart activities to mark the 75th anniversary of a bank that started from very humble beginnings and has now gone global. Right inside this hall are the corporate headquarters of the bank. To address the global media is the top management.
The past 75 years have been marked by stability and excellence, pillars upon which UBA's legacy stands tall. UBA is the only bank in sub-Saharan Africa that has a deposit-taking license in the United States of America.
With UBA technology, you can transfer money from Togo to Ghana, from Ghana to Kenya, without not coming into the banking hall. So we have done that with technology. And in terms of fraud, too, one of the things we have also done is that as we empower customers, we also show that we have that underlying technology that will prevent customers from losing funds. Today, UBA is a safe haven for customers' funds.
Recounting the bank's achievements, the GMD says UBA is a bank of many firsts.
As we reflect on the significance of this epoch-making event, it is important to acknowledge that UBA means different things to different people. To some, UBA is a trusted financial partner. For others, UBA is a beacon of stability and reliability, a developmental partner in various local communities across Africa, as well as a catalyst for African development.
Addressing the recent recapitalization directive for commercial banks in the country by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the management made it clear the bank would not break any sweat in meeting the 500 billion naira new capital base set by CBN for banks under its categories.
We have operations, very strong, vibrant operations across Africa and indeed in several centers in the world. So we've chosen to go by this route. We are looking at options. We're engaging financial advisors, and we indeed have set in motion the requisite approvals from the shareholders.
The bank recently announced a profit after tax of 607.6 billion naira for the 2023 financial year, which represents a 257% surge from the 170.2 billion naira declared in 2022. Already, its unaudited financial result for first quarter 2024 shows pre-tax profit grew by 154.74% year-on-year to 156.334 billion naira. The management says the bank is on a course to break new grounds in terms of profitability.
You will see that our performance has continued to improve, reflecting clearly the work we are doing. Today, the deposit position of UBA is about 18 trillion. Today, our shareholders' funding is 2 trillion. Today, you will see that our customer base is moving up to 45 million customers across Africa. And these are growing on a daily basis.
UBA Nigerian PLC, one of Nigeria's oldest and largest banks, reported its audited accounts for 2023, revealing gross earnings of 2 trillion naira, a significant increase from 835 billion naira just a year earlier. This achievement marks the bank's highest gross earnings on record and ranks as one of the highest in the banking sector for 2023. The bank is not stopping there, as the management says plans are on the way to get the bank listed in other capital markets outside Nigeria. Sydney Okafor, TV360, Lagos.
We'll take a short break and be back with stock market reports. It has been a rosy ride on the Nigeria stock market so far this week, as the equities built on Monday's gains to close positive on Tuesday, gaining about 61 billion naira. This led our all-share index to rise by 0.11% as more investors bought shares of Nexo Nigeria PLC. Berger Paints spearheaded the gainers, jumping from its second-place position on Monday to close at 14 naira 90 kobo, followed by Nestle, which closed the day's trade at 900 naira. Now, at the sound of the closing bell on Tuesday, the Nigeria equities market recorded 222 million volumes of shares exchanged in 7,228 deals, corresponding to a market value of over 5 billion naira. Now on to our select foreign equities. The UK's FTSE and the Japan's Nikkei took a plunge at the close of trade to close at 0.047% and 0.37% respectively. The US Dow Jones, however, managed to stay afloat, closing at 0.034%. Now let's take a quick look at our foreign exchange market. It's good news as the Naira continues to gain ground on the exchange markets, as the US dollar traded at 1,482.38 naira on the official market and at 1,470 naira on the black market. The Great British Pound traded at 1,882.47 naira on the official market and at 1,870 naira on the black market. The Euros traded at 1,610 naira on the official market and traded at 1,580 naira on the black market. That's Istanbul Business and Stock Market Report. Back to you, Simi, for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Joy. And in other countries, tens of thousands of Iranians gathered on Tuesday to mourn President Ebrahim Raisi and 7 members of his entourage who were killed in a helicopter crash on a fog-shrouded mountainside in the northwest. Waving Iranian flags and portraits of the late president, mourners set off from a central square in the northwestern city of Tabriz, where Raisi was headed when his helicopter crashed on Sunday. The helicopter lost communications while it was on its way back to Tabriz after Raisi attended the inauguration of a joint dam project on the Aras River, which forms part of the border with Azerbaijan, in a ceremony with his counterpart Ilham Aliyev. Iran's Armed Forces Chief of Staff Mohammad Bagher has ordered an investigation into the cause of the crash. And finally, in sports, Nigeria table tennis player Aruna Quadri will be the headline star when the 2024 World Table Tennis Contender commences in Lagos on June 19. In a statement on the WTT website on Monday, the organizers confirmed the 35-year-old is scheduled to make his first Contender Series appearance on home soil next month. The competition will be held in Lagos for the second consecutive year in place of the now-retired ITTF Nigeria Open. $80,000 in cash prizes will be available to players across several categories, according to the WTT. And that's all on News Now. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.